The World Health Organization keeps a list, a kind of most wanted list for viruses that could cause the next big pandemic. And today, we're going to break down one of the scariest names on that list. Let's get into the anatomy of Nipah.
So the story of how the world first met Nipah, well, it begins in the most ordinary way possible. You got to picture it. 1998, a pig farmer in Malaysia. He just wakes up one day feeling a bit off. Nothing crazy. It just started with a simple headache.
But here's the thing. This was no ordinary sickness, not even close. His condition just spiraled at a terrifying speed. What started as just a headache, within days led to a coma. And then, 5 days later, he was brain dead. You can imagine an event like that. It triggered a massive investigation. And what they found was horrifying. It really begs the question, right? What is this virus that can do something like that so fast? And more importantly, why are scientists so afraid of it? Okay, so to really get a handle on this threat, we have to rewind. We're going back to the beginning, to Malaysia, and the world's first encounter with this brand new kind of killer. And look, that's not me being dramatic. This is a direct quote from experts who've seen firsthand what this thing does to a person. It's a statement that's just chilling, and it really sets the stage for what we're about to get into. So back in '98, hospitals start to fill up. People are coming in with these really high fevers and just bizarre neurological symptoms. At first, the doctors thought, okay, maybe it's Japanese encephalitis, but it just wasn't adding up. The pieces didn't fit. It took a team of scientists to finally pinpoint the real killer, a totally unknown virus, and they named it Nipah after the village where one of the first victims was from. And this is the number that just stunned everybody. The fatality rate was 40%. Let that sink in. For every 10 people who got sick, 4 of them died. And even for those who survived, many were left with permanent, devastating brain damage.
I mean, a 40% fatality rate is just staggering. So the question becomes, how? How does a virus do that? Let's take a closer, more clinical look at exactly how this thing launches its assault on the human body.
What's so scary is how systematic the attack is. For up to 14 days, that's 2 full weeks, you could be walking around feeling totally fine. But inside you, the virus is just multiplying, silently, and the whole time, you're contagious. Then, bam, a sudden high fever, a brutal headache. But the real nightmare, that starts around day 5. That's when the virus invades the brain, and that leads to confusion, personality changes, seizures, and eventually a coma, as your brain literally starts to shut down. So, the main cause of death here is something called encephalitis. That's the medical term for when the brain gets inflamed and swells up. But what makes Nipah so uniquely terrifying is that it doesn't just cause swelling. No, this virus, it actively targets and kills your brain cells. We're talking catastrophic, irreversible damage.
Okay, a killer virus like this doesn't just pop into existence, right? So where on earth does it come from? Let's play detective for a minute and trace the pathways of this thing.
It turns out the natural home, the reservoir for Nipah virus, is in these guys, Pteropus fruit bats. You might know them as flying foxes, and they're all over South and Southeast Asia. But here's the crazy part. The bats themselves don't get sick. They just carry it around, perfectly healthy, acting as a natural, silent host for this killer. So if the bats are fine, how does it make the jump to us? Well, there are basically 3 main ways this happens. First, you've got contaminated food. In places like Bangladesh, people have gotten sick just from drinking raw date palm sap that a bat might have, contaminated. Second, you have what's called an amplifying host. This is what happened in that first outbreak. The bats infected pigs, and the pigs then gave it to the farmers. But the third path, and this is the one that really worries everyone, is that some strains can now spread directly from human to human. And that last point, human-to-human spread, that really brings us to the heart of the matter. To really grasp why this isn't just a regional problem, but a global threat, we need to break down the 4 key things that have scientists absolutely terrified. Okay, first up, it's sheer, brutal lethality. Remember that 40% from the first outbreak? That was bad enough. But the strain that's been seen in Bangladesh, it has a fatality rate as high as 75%. Just stop and think about that. 3 out of every 4 people who get it die. Now, to put that number into perspective, let's compare it to some viruses you probably know. Nipah is just in a totally different league. It's way deadlier than Ebola, and when you look at something like COVID-19, it's not even in the same ballpark. We're talking orders of magnitude more fatal. All right, the second reason for terror,
we're basically defenseless. There's no effective drug to treat it. There is no vaccine available for people. If you get Nipah, all the doctors can really do is give you what's called supportive care. Keep you hydrated, help you breathe. They're basically forced to stand by and just watch as the virus tears through the body. So when you put it all together, you have a perfect storm for a pandemic. You've got this incredibly high kill rate. You've got no vaccine and no cure. You have this long silent incubation period, up to 2 weeks, where people can spread it without a single symptom. And as if all that wasn't enough, the virus can go dormant and then just reactivate years down the line in people who thought they'd recovered. So all of this, it all funnels down to one really critical question. We're seeing more and more outbreaks. It feels like a ticking clock. Is this the thing we should be worried about? Is this the next big pandemic threat?
I mean, just look at the pattern here. After those first couple of outbreaks, things went quiet for a while. But look at what's been happening recently. The pace is picking up. We're seeing outbreak after outbreak in Kerala, India. They're getting more frequent, and crucially, they're happening in really densely populated areas. And look, this isn't just some fringe theory or scaremongering. The World Health Organization itself has officially put Nipah on its list of priority pathogens. That's their formal way of saying, yep, this thing has all the ingredients to cause the next global health catastrophe. You have to remember, every single outbreak is like another roll of the dice. It's another chance for the virus to mutate, to get better at spreading between people. So far, we've been lucky. We've managed to keep these outbreaks contained to small areas. But the question that keeps public health officials up at night is, when the next one hits, will our luck finally run out?
Think about it. A 2-week silent incubation period. The sheer number of people flying around the globe every single day. It's a genuinely chilling thought, isn't it? One sick person feeling perfectly fine on one international flight. That's all it would take. Which leaves us with a final, really disturbing question. Is the next pandemic already incubating?